Oh, shoot. Okay. What is good, y'all? It is Bible Stories Revisited. My name's Dwayne Kenyon, and yeah, I was gonna make this a faceless, like podcast type channel at first, but like the more that I look at today's society and like the way that things are structured, it's always different in different places, but at least where I grew up and stuff, there's not a lot of representation for people who think the way that I am, which just is just independent thinking. There's not a lot of people for that. So I feel like withholding, I'm saying, my presence, who I actually am, I'm taking away that possibility for others to feel represented and not as alienated, ostracized, just because of a way that they think. Because at first this is just gonna be for me because I grew up in like a Christian household, learning a lot of Christian things, and of course I still hold on to certain values because I feel like they are good, but there are also many values on another hand that I don't think are good for us as society or the planet as a whole. And I feel like when we're caught up, especially in like a lot of Bible Belt places, it's easy to like get caught up in the hive mind and feel like you're the crazy one, you know? And people give this book a lot of power. So, one thing I want to do is I don't want to take, like, what I'm saying, power away from this book that I've seen it have to other people. But, well, in a scenario, it depends on how you look at the power that this book can have for people. And the way that I see it, it can be good, it can be bad. It just depends on how you approach it. And the thing that deviated me from this a while is just the fact of, am I going to arrogantly assume that I know everything just because I was born a certain way? Or am I going to actually look at things for what they are and, what I'm saying, be honest with myself? Because that's a lot of things. Like, there would be a lot of ways that I would excuse myself around that, and especially excuse other people's questions around that because I already knew the right buzzwords and the right rebuttals to say for like certain scenarios. But after a while, it's like easy to just to say those buzzwords, say like, oh, obviously this is why. But until you actually think about it for yourself, you can't really say that you know. So, one thing that I did is I was like, there's no way that I can know for sure unless I myself, with my own eyes, intake this whole Bible. And, after I did that, it wasn't a right away thing, but after some time went by and I looked into other religions, I just figured out that if there is a God, I don't think it's this one. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that there is no existence of this God. I'm just saying that with my personal spiritual journey, the conclusion that I came is that if there is a Sky Father out there, I don't believe it's this one. And I would actually hope that it's not this one. So, I was going to read this book in a certain type of order, and I'm probably still going to do that. Um, the only like story that I have on there, let me check just to make sure so that I'm not getting it wrong, but I think the only story I have up there right now is either the creation story or right after, which would be the Cain and Abel story. And man, do I have some I have some stuff to say about both of those, but really the Cain and Abel one, mainly because I saw someone do like a review of it, and it just, you know what I'm saying? The way that he took in those verses, you know, I didn't take them in that way. And it's interesting that, of course, when you're already taught what to think when certain things happen, it's easy to just overlook these things. But when you actually think for yourself, you're like, hold on, hold on. Let's unpack this and see why this happened. A lot of people, it's easy to just look over things or ignore it just so that you can keep your general sense of peace. I completely understand that. And that's why I don't want to knock it so much. But at the end of the day, there are people who were impacted negatively by this, and I want them to feel like they can take some power back. And when you look at these stories, when you look at it from a real perspective, it does take that power back because you realize that at the end of the day, without you giving this stuff power, you know what I'm saying? The stories or the impact that these stories have is completely in your control. So, I see that he did the creation story. One thing I will add, because I've done a couple of these stories a couple of times, and this is why I have the computer now because I tried to do it on my phone, and there would be so many times where it just something messed up. So I feel like the best thing for me to do is just have a basic video for it, you know? So we will speed run this. I want to do two ones that I've really wanted to talk about, and they are short. I want. I was gonna use this one. I'm going to use my grandmother's Bible, right? R.I.P. I know for a fact some Christians probably gonna use that against me down the line, but I like to be open and honest. And this is the Bible that I used when I was like going through it because a lot of it's pretty much a lot shorter and to the point. And then I went to this one to like make sure like I understood certain things or I wasn't getting certain things out of context. So you'll see me flip between the two different books just to see if I get a different meaning from something, even though it's the same verse. But the first one we will be doing is Cain and Abel. Um, I really hope the first one was recorded good because I had some shit to say to God for that first one, like. But that's besides the point. Ooh, okay. So we'll read Cain and Abel, and I will compare how I processed this book compared to like how a typical Christian I saw would process this book. So I give myself three segues, but I try to read it all the way through and then commence my yapping. So here's Cain and Abel. So Adam knew or made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Later, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now, Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. Now, the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very upset and his face fell. This is my first segue, you know, just because this is like one of the first points where like I saw like the, you know what I'm saying, the other guy like, saying his perspective, and he was pretty much saying like, yeah, the Cain is in charge of livestock, not even live, yeah, like crops, stuff like that. And Abel is in charge of literal, like, animals and stuff. Now, if we know anything about God, and this is what he didn't say, but I'll just say what he said first because we'll get through it and then I'll go back, okay? So, boom. Then the Lord said to Cain, um, I lost my place. Okay, yeah. Why are you angry? Why did your face fall? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It deserves to have you, but you must rule over it. That's my segue now. Okay. So he was like, yeah, what he's saying is you can't let like little disappointments get to you because once you let the little disappointments get to you, it's only a snowball effect. And sin is waiting right at your door, just waiting for the opportunity where you will let it in. Cool, right? That's a cool little sermon, a little segment to like describe that. But that's not the way that I see this with the knowledge that I have about this God. One thing that this God loves is the smell of burning flesh. That's why you'll see a lot like a burnt offering. And best believe we are getting to Genesis 22 around the corner. So hold off on that. But yes, a burnt offering. God loves the smell of burning flesh. So we look back at the verse, right? Cain gave him many crops. He used his God given gift to give what he was able to give to the Lord. And Abel did the same thing. He took the fat of the firstborn and used it as an offering. This is like New Testament, so I don't know if it says burnt offering or not, but I know God loves the smell of burning flesh. So obviously, if we know God, God is much more likely to like the smell of burning flesh than he would of some crops. So, God has high regard for Abel's gift, the burning flesh, and barely pays any attention to Cain's gift. Now, I'm not a father myself, but this is supposed to be the father of fathers, the most wise person ever. Not even person, God. His thinking is beyond ours, right? So, why is he acting so emotionally unintelligent on why Cain is upset in this situation? Cain has spent his life so far contributing in what he knows how he is able to contribute it to. Let me say that a little bit better. Cain, his gift is working on crops. So he used what he is good at to try to please the Lord, just like Abel did. It is just by coincidence, I'm guessing, that Abel just had something that God regarded more, so he showed clear favoritism. Abel wasn't trying to like push people away. Abel wasn't like, not even, okay, because I'm getting jumbled in my head, but pretty much the thing with Cain is that I feel for him in this scenario, and people don't let you think from Cain's perspective. How would you have felt if, let's say, your talent is painting and another person's talent is food, right? So, you paint the most beautiful portrait for your parents, but your parents have not eaten, so they just automatically appreciate the gift more and don't even acknowledge your painting. obviously you'd be sad, right? Because you put time and effort into something that you love to try to contribute to the people. Now, it may not have been like food, which is like what they specialize in, but you as a parent, you need to acknowledge other people's efforts or it will affect them. They will feel like they are A, not enough. They'll feel like, oh, there is a clear favorite going on, so my efforts clearly just do not mean as much to this person. God seemed to not think about any of that. He was just like, why are you upset? Why does your face fall? And with me in like my way of thinking, that shit just doesn't sound right. It sounds like, bro, read the fucking room. Like you showed these are both two people who like were taught to raise you, not even raise you, but praise you consistently and you know what I'm saying? Really look up to you because you are their creator, you know? And instead of being a wise, all knowing creator, you just seem arrogant in this moment. You seem unemotionally intelligent because I know so many parents that do a much better job of this when two kids have something to present. They show enthusiasm for both sides, regardless if they actually like the gift or not, because they know that the child put in effort just for them, and that is appreciated enough. But no, God clearly shows favoritism and then points out and blames the other person for clearly being disappointed. That shit's disgusting, in my opinion. But we shall continue. Remember, sin will be knocking at your door and all of that. Now, I'm not going to condone Cain's actions afterwards, but up until that moment, I understand why he was upset. And for God to act like he did not understand, or maybe be so self centered that he ignored it completely and then questioned him like he was unaware, that says a lot to me. But now, Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. This is interesting now. The Lord said to Cain, where is your brother Abel? I don't know, he replied. I am my brother's keeper. He said, am I my brother's keeper? Oh, that's kind of sly, like a remark. The Lord said, and this is interesting, right? Because, like, I can understand, like, this God, he's more human like, with, like, just above human powers. But it's like even he is, like, not privy to the fact that he has certain abilities that other people don't. Because he's like, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me. Which, that is gnarly, bro. Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which is open his mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land. Oh my goodness. And I will be hidden from your presence. Like we're not always hidden from his presence. Anyways, I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. This is also interesting because we're a lot of people get the notion that like, are these not the only people? So like, after Cain and Abel, how did they reproduce? But if y'all listen back in my other review, it's confused because this nigga makes man twice. He makes man once and then just scatters them, I'm assuming, and then they run it back. They make the animals first, and then they make the humans with, I guess, more care and the breath of life. It's strange, but I just, especially as a Christian, I didn't think about it that much. But even now, I'm just like, um, maybe that was the first batch of humans. Because you got to think, God has a clear hierarchy with this Bible as well. There are people, and then there are his chosen people, which he cares for very much. The difference with people and his chosen people, slavery. Because guess who is the only group of people that God brought out of slavery? His chosen people. So, for the people in my. Because if you black like me, you know that there's an in group thing where people are like, we're the chosen people. Even as a Christian, I didn't believe that because I would be like, I can't justify him letting slavery happen if we are truly his chosen people. And even like with this Kendrick song called Fear, there would be like someone who used Deuteronomy to use that as their reasoning for why we are cursed people, and until we go back to the laws of God, we will continue to go under this. Nice flip. Really nice flip. And that's a thing you can do with this Bible. It's not just one perspective you can look at it as. You can look at this from a lot of perspectives. And they've used this Bible to flip things a lot of different ways throughout time. You know? You feel me? That's why it can be good in here, but at the same time, you have to have that mindset that you are, you know what I'm saying, you're using this for the right reasons. You feel me? So, gnarly. Blood screaming out to you, all that. Boom. Um, so yeah, he got cast out and everything, and he even found a wife. This is just me speed running because I want to get to the next one, and yeah, just speed run these for real, because these are ones that I've done before, and I want to get to like the newer stories where it's been a minute since I've reviewed those. So these are just so that it's out there. Um, and yeah, I think that is okay, right? Because I'm gonna skip Noah's Ark and go straight to the Tower of Babel. Um, cause like let's be honest here, y'all. Like I don't. Mm, how can I describe this about Noah's Ark? Just like how like there are books that imitate the Bible, the the Bible also imitates other books. With me saying that, let's just say Noah's Ark is not the first version of that story. Now, we can review that, we can go over it and stuff, but that's when I reviewed a lot. So I might come back to that one. We shall see. But yeah, if I get any like comments about it, I'll go back to it and read it just for a quick episode. But the Tower of Babel is only 9 verses. So we're gonna get this. And remember, right? Especially, this is what I was taught as a child, that these people wanted to build a tower that would literally go up to heaven. And God told them not to, so he changed around everybody's languages so they could not understand each other. And that's pretty much the story, right? People were being disobedient. God had to teach them a lesson. That's why we have new languages. But I'm going to actually read this story. And when I actually read it, I actually got something a lot different from what I was taught growing up and when the story was read to me as a child. So, you know the title of this channel. Let's revisit it. Let's see Genesis 11, verses 1 through 9. The Tower of Babel. So now, the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, pay attention, lock in now. Come, let's make bricks and take them and bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, this is where you really lock in now. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Or we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. Now, when I read that, what I hear is, because you got to think of stuff like the Eiffel Tower, you know what I'm saying? The Empire State Building. These are staple buildings that not only, like, you know what I'm saying, they are good tourist attractions, but they also partially represent the unity or that city altogether. Like, it will be the symbol for a city, a tall building, right? So, when they say, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, I don't think they are talking about let's reach a tower to heavens so that we can meet God. Because right after that, they say, so that we may make a name for ourselves. So, what I am believing that this is saying is that they just want to build a tower to symbolize their unity as people. Or if they don't have that unity, what happens if y'all aren't working as a unified group? Y'all scatter off and split into different denominations. Anyways, so over here I don't see anything that said God said don't do this, right? And this is the part where my jaw dropped down to the floor, reading this with my own two eyes. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. So he came down to see what they were building. So he had knowledge of this already. He already knew that they were building it, and he's like, let me come down and see this for myself. And you know what he says when he sees his creation unifying together to make something great, grand, that will last a long time? Me putting myself in a creator, if I created something or a group of people that made something far beyond what I thought they were capable of, I would be proud of myself, of them. You know what I'm saying? I would feel awesome that they do something like that. But let's see what God says. Verse 6. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Last pause before we finish this. I love this verse as an agnostic person now, because when I was growing up in the faith, this is different. And we're taught that, you know, God can do anything. God can do whatever, right? So, when I look at the one who I perceived in my past life, not even in my past life, but just in the past as like the creator of everything, when I see the verse that people say is the inerrant word, and the Lord Himself is almost talking like He's scared of what we are able to do and what we are able to accomplish. He says, and this is His creation. It's almost like He's fearful of our ability when we're not split up, when we are one, when we are working together. God Himself said that there is not shit that we can't do. There isn't a thing that is impossible for us. And that is powerful, no matter what way you look at it. That's amazing. Now, if it stopped right there and He was just in awe about us, that would make me feel good. But what He says right after, I'll run it back just so you get it. As if one people, speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. My nigga, bro, this is your creation. You should be proud of them. But instead, out of fear that there is nothing that they can't accomplish, you decide to confuse their language so that they are not able to do whatever. Almost like you are putting them in a box, restricting their ability to do stuff just so that you can stay in control. You know? And that's interesting. I can't lie to y'all, bro. But you see, the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. So the city was never got done built because, and once again, I was told that like they were just trying to build a tower. This is a city that they were trying to build something that lasts, that had sustainability. They were not trying to literally go up to God. That's not what is going on here in the slightest. You feel me? And yeah, God, instead of being like, oh shoot, my creation has gone beyond anything that I even imagined they would be able to do. Instead of being proud of that, you know what I'm saying, being happy that they were able to push their limits and reach new heights, He brings them down even further. And it's like, y'all cannot all be together. Separate y'all, scatter y'all throughout the land, different languages. So that is just difficult and even more hard for us to have unity again. And I'll use that one verse. Christians be cherry picking verses all the time. Let's be for real. But I'll use that one verse when people are like, I don't feel like us being together would be beneficial. You know? Because that's another messed up thing that like Christian thinking can do, is you will start to believe that like, I don't know, it's just insane. Oh shit.
Yo.
Yo. I knew you was sliding eventually. I've seen this once. Seen you was sin. I tried to talk over